I'm a 27-year-old female, and this happened 6 months ago. I used to be a skeptic up until the experience I've had while babysitting. You see, I've been babysitting 3 children. Tracy, who's 10, Mike 8, and Sally 4. Ever since Sally was a few months old, I've never really had hard times with them, other than a few tantrums here and there, which is normal. Overall, these children are like if they were my own. So the other day their mother called me to babysit for them again. But this time it was going to be for 6 days, while she and her husband were on a business trip. The first 3 nights everything went normal. Up until the 4th. The children and I were watching cartoons, until it was time for them to go to bed. Sally was the most difficult to tuck into bed, since she was younger, and had the most energy. All 3 children slept in the same bedroom, since Mike's bedroom was being remodeled. When I finally got Sally to sleep, I went downstairs to watch my TV show, when I heard Sally's ABC toy. The toy had letters as buttons, where toddlers can learn them. I instantly thought that Sally had come downstairs to play. Annoyed, I got up from the couch and went upstairs, opened the bedroom door, only to see that all 3 were fast asleep. Keep in mind there were no toys on the floor. I checked inside the closet where all the toys were kept, and kept looking for that specific toy but couldn't find it, which made no sense. I clearly heard it up there. Suddenly, I heard the toy downstairs. There's this button on the toy that says a BBC Come Sing With Me and a giggle at the end. That's exactly what I heard. My stomach dropped to the point where I just froze in shock and with confusion. I knew for a fact that Sally did not bring it downstairs from either day. I quietly went downstairs to later find that the toy was on the dining room table. I froze again. It was definitely not there before. When I got near the toy, I noticed that it was off. But it said again, ABC Come Sing With Me. A yelp got the toy and removed the batteries. Tracy called out my name from the top of the stairs and asked what was the matter. I didn't want to scare her, so I said nothing, go back to bed. I didn't know what to make of this, so I placed the batteries in a drawer and went to check on the children. Tracy sat up from her bed when she saw me. I sat next to her and told her everything was okay. Liar. You're scared? She said. I made a puzzled look and said I just had a bad dream. That's all. She slowly shook her head. Sebastian scared you. Who's Sebastian? I asked. She later laid down facing the wall. Don't let them scare you, Darlene. He just wants to play with Sally's toy. I was so confused yet scared. I didn't want to ask her any more questions. I couldn't sleep that night. Did Tracy also hear the toy? Is she really used to it? The following night, I was able to fall asleep since nothing unusual occurred until 4 in the morning. I heard whispers outside my door. It was still dark out, and I rubbed my eyes to go check out the noise. It was coming from the children's run that was across from mine. I slowly opened their door until Tracy's sitting on the rug. She looked at me with a surprised look on her face. What are you doing up? I asked. Nothing, she replied. Go to bed. It's too early to be up. Who are you even talking to? Tracy just stared at me with a blank expression. I heard you, Tracy. I know you were talking. Sebastian's upset that you don't give him the same attention you give us. He keeps trying to catch your attention so you can take care of him too. And the hairs on my body stood up. Tracy, please go to bed or talk about this later. No. Sebastian wants your attention now and wants you to understand that. She said that in a loud tone. By this point, Mike and Sally woke up. Tracy, Sebastian has to leave you alone, my ground. So all of you know about Sebastian? I asked. They all nodded. Thankfully, their parents were coming back that day because I wanted to get out of there. Fast forward to an hour before their arrival. Tracy didn't want to eat the sandwich I made for her. Mike and Sally had no problem and were playing out in their backyard once they were finished. Tracy, You've been sitting there without touching your food for an hour. Keep in mind the entire time I've been ignoring her since children do that to catch attention. But by this point, I was getting irritated. Tracy then looked at me and said, "Where's the Sebastian's meal?" I tried to play along. "Where Sebastian is right. Now he's holding on to your leg," she said. Giggling, my body froze. Just imagine that made my stomach turn. I tried to remain calm and positive. "Well, Sebastian, if you don't sit down, I won't make you a sandwich." Tracy smiles while looking down at where I was standing. I was really hoping for her parents to get here very soon. I made the extra sandwich and placed it where Tracy said he was sitting. He said thank you. She said I don't know why that made me feel a bit better. Eventually her parents arrived. And once they settled their things and greeted us, the mom looked at the untouched sandwich and smiled, asking why it was there. Tracy and the other children were already outside with their father playing by this point. I lowered my voice and said the kids claim there's a boy here wanting my attention. Her eyes widened. "Sebastian, please don't tell me this is true." She sat me down on the couch and told me to tell her everything that happened. When I told her about the toys, she recalled that happening every other night. But they've gotten used to it over the years. I don't know how they managed to do that, honestly. Later she ended up explaining that the family who lived there before them had a 4-year-old son who passed away in the house. The family moved out soon after. By the time this family moved in, Tracy was a newborn baby. When she became a toddler, the mother noticed that Tracy would talk to herself, and as she grew older and was able to express herself a little more, she would say Sebastian was sad and always wanted to play, especially at night. The mom naturally thought it was an imaginary friend. But as the day would pass, Tracy would make it look realistic, and someone was actually there. She recalled hearing her argue with literally no one, and how one of the toys went missing, then later appeared in the long shed they have in the backyard. It was impossible for Tracy to put it through there. This creeps the parents out that they've decided to look up their house's history, in the hopes of finding that nothing tragic had occurred, when in fact, it did. They realized the little boy had passed away with not too much information on it. This was devastating to them. They decided that they had to deal with it. Since the little boy wasn't harming anyone, it was also clear that only Tracy could communicate with Sebastian. Neither Mike nor Sally could. But they grew up knowing that Tracy had a friend when they noticed Tracy staying up later at night playing and talking. They simply know the routine of telling her to stop and to tell Sebastian it's time for bed. The mother said, "Darlene, honey, Tracy had already told me about Sebastian liking you ever since you started babysitting them. But I told her not to tell you anything, because it may startle you or you wouldn't believe her. But now you see that Sebastian desperately wants to catch her attention. He's a good kid. It would destroy all of us to see you leave and no longer babysit for this family. If that's what you end up deciding, that's understandable. In reality, Sebastian didn't do any harm. It actually made me feel bad for him. Of course, this happened unexpectedly, and for 4 years of babysitting, these children had never experienced such a thing. Maybe Sebastian did want attention after so long. Besides, I couldn't leave my babies. As stated earlier, I see them as my own, so I decided to keep babysitting them. After that experience, I babysat 2 more times. Nothing extraordinary happened, other than having some misplaced stuff appear out of nowhere. I've slowly gotten used to it, but it's not quite as easy. I didn't used to believe in the paranormal, but you have to experience it for it to change your mind completely, as it did with me. Let me take you back in time to Birmingham, 1998, where I lived in a 2-split into 3-bedroom semi-detached council house. The first part of the story, after recent research, could have well been a sleep paralysis episode, but I guess I'll let you make your own mind to see if that assumption is correct or not. I was around 8 at the time, and I woke up in the middle of the night. When I did, I felt a long nail scratch me all the way down my scalp. It came from behind my bed. I still to this day can't sleep without that gap being covered. I would frequently wake up underneath the bed in the middle of the night. One time I remember waking up being almost locked behind the headrest, sitting up once again. I must have been doing this in my sleep. Other things happened, like hearing faint whispers in my ear when in bed. This sensation of being watched and hearing footsteps come up and down the stairs. One time I remember seeing both of my dogs bark and growl at the ceiling, watching it go around the room. But there was nothing there that I can see. My parents and brother didn't take any notice. Perhaps it was because I was inquisitive or attracted to this kind of phenomena. Now going to where I was 15. There was a girl who was obsessed with me at school. She would stalk me and hang around outside my house. She was that bad that she jumped off a bridge because I wasn't interested. Fortunately, she got caught by a friend underneath, as it was only a 20-foot drop, and seems to be doing well for herself now. Well, one night my phone was non-stop ringing from midnight until 2 or 3 a.m. until my battery ran out. My screen started lighting up my room like a kaleidoscope, with magnificent rainbow colors. This went on for 10 minutes and totally freaked me out. Once again, this is probably something that has a logical explanation. Now, it's 2004 and GTA has just been released, and I'm about 15 years old, and it's around the same time of the cell phone incident. I would go to school to sign my name in the register, then turn for the rest of the day, as my parents worked, and I knew I would have a free house. I go to my brother's room to play the game, shut the door as this door had no lock on it, and it was a standard wooden door with a handle. Fast forward to when I needed to leave the room, and the door was jammed from the inside. It wouldn't open at all. Outside this bedroom window there is a porch, which I could gain access to by climbing out of the bedroom window, and then climbing down from there to the outside floor. I decided to do this and then went back to school for the last hour or so. Crazy to think I got away with this in 2005. After school I walked back home with my younger brother and my dad's at home. I explained that I had a problem with the door and it wouldn't open. My dad proceeds to open it without any issue, and it continues to open and close for the rest of the day. Now today too, I decided to do the same thing. Play truant so that I can play GTA. The exact same thing happens once again. I climbed out the window and onto the porch. This time I decided to go back inside my home. The volume of the TV was playing as normal, with some BBC show, but the screen was paused on something completely unrelated. On the screen was a picture of an old lady. It had a white background and she was staring at me. The best way to describe it is a portrait picture, like a photo. There's no way this could have been any TV show that had been on. She had black eyes and didn't seem to have any life, and her from them. I've never really had any experiences in the house, other than the occasional strange noises and some weird stuff that I brushed off. Looking back, if it really was a ghost, I feel like it attached itself to me, and I don't know why. It was just another dreary evening in Washington State. My girlfriend had retired to bed a few hours earlier, leaving me alone in the living room, engrossed in a show which she had recommended. As the pilot episode played on, I found myself comfortably seated on the couch facing the television, and the slightly ajar curtains that led into the room. The ambience was calm, and I thoroughly enjoyed the Netflix series. Then in an instant, everything was changed. My gaze was abruptly torn away from the television screen, drawn to a movement beyond the curtains through the narrow 4-inch gap. I discerned the silhouette of a dark, shifting shadow. It took only a moment for my mind to register the figure's resemblance to the infamous old hag of folklore, a crone-like entity often associated with sleep paralysis. The shadowy figure mirrored the old hag's appearance, an elderly woman with a prominent nose reminiscent of the Wicked Witch from Snow White, sans the iconic hat. However, this time, It wasn't a fleeting image during sleep paralysis. It was a tangible presence lingering outside my living room. I fixated on the sight, observing the shadow for approximately 5 seconds as it lifted away from the living room and vanished into the adjacent laundry room. Confusion and disbelief engulfed me, desperately searching for a rational explanation. Perhaps it was a trick of the mind and the illusion conjured by my imagination. I sat in silence on the couch, straining my ears for any sign of movement within the house. But the stillness remained unbroken, determined to uncover the truth. I cautiously emerged from the living room, drawing the curtain aside and turning right to enter the laundry room. To my surprise, the room was vacant. No trace of the shadowy figure remained. I cast a doubtful glance at the locked and secure garage door, questioning the impossibility of it all. Leaving the laundry room, I hastened my steps and ascended the stairs, anxious to check on my girlfriend in our master bedroom. Given her occasional bouts of sleep paralysis, my mind raced with concern. As I reached the top step, I swung open the door, revealing my girlfriend, comfortably reclining in bed, absorbed in her tablet. Realizing she was awake and not wanting to alarm her with the unsettling encounter I had just experienced downstairs, I grasped for a casual remark, alerting out. "Do you want to smoke?" She declined, assuring me that she was fine, and I bid her good night and retreated downstairs. The subsequent hours were consumed by intensive research, a quest to find anyone else who had encounters with such phenomenon outside of the realms of sleep paralysis. However, my search yielded no results. No corroborating stories or sightings of this mysterious figure. Disheartened or resolved, I decided to put the incident behind me and retire for the night. Upon awakening, I recounted the events of the previous night in full detail to my girlfriend, leaving her visibly unsettled. While it appeared that nothing tangible had infiltrated our home, I am certain that something was present. A presence that defied explanation. It is my fervent belief that these entities are real, and people should be aware of their existence. To those who lend an ear, remember this: encountering the old hag does not require the confines of sleep paralysis, and you never know whose home she may choose to haunt next. If you find yourself witnessing the movements of a shadow tonight, it might be more than just a mere trick of the mind.